You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive on a Victory Monday here in early September. Matt, the Steelers, just like we both predicted, a close win.
Close game,
I think it went exactly
down
the
wire,
way.
right?
I think we all thought it was going to play out like that. No.
Nailed it.
Exactly. Nobody thought that it was going to play out like that. The lowest over-under of the Week 1 NFL slate ends up being the second highest scoring game.
Insane.
Until Buffalo-Baltimore last night.
I didn't confirm this, but I think those are the only two games that hit the over the whole weekend.
I'll have to look into that.
I know unders are big, and that was the lowest. I mean, it couldn't have been more. I mean, it was one of the highest scoring games. It predicted to be one of the lowest scoring games. A lot to unpack. I almost said I don't want to overreact because it's week 1.
It's week 1, and that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, week 1s are weird. New coaching staff.
Even week 2s can be a little weird
No
sometimes.
doubt,
So
no doubt. And it'd be a
buckle
hard
in.
game to prepare for. But I want to give the Jets a lot of credit. I think they're a better football team and a better coach football team than I expected. And that's one thing I always do on Mondays is I think you have to recognize the opponent. I mean, these guys are getting paid too. And that was the best I've ever seen Fields play. And some of their first-round picks on both lines of scrimmage are going to turn into really good players. And I like this coaching staff. But that being said, so my point is a lot of people look at the Jets like that's one of the worst 2 or 3 teams in the league. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be. But I also think there's a lot of work to be done, too. I mean, the negative column for the Steelers in that game is pretty extensive and worrisome.
It sure is, and we will obviously get to that today. We're going to catch up with our buddy Rob King about 15, 20 minutes from now as well, too. The voice of the Steelers, get his perspective from what he saw there in the booth. But I think you're right. That's the beauty of a Week 1 win. I guess still, I don't even want to say ugly.
But we can do it with a smile on our face. You know what I mean? Right? If Oz misses that kick, all of a sudden burn the place down, you know?
It's almost exactly what you want in a way.
Yeah.
There's positives to build off of. There's still plenty that you can harp on these guys about this week so that they're not feeling too good about themselves either.
Yeah.
But you're 1-0. And
I think you have a quarterback.
And I think you have a quarterback. And that's where I wanted to start, Matt. Is
I think you have to.
There are some concerns and some negatives and some things that we'll get into, certainly. But my goodness, I think even the most optimistic Aaron Rodgers supporters heading into this 2025 season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were certainly one of them. And I think
he's pretty impressive to be around at camp, as you know, and those type of things. It's hard not to be impressed.
Yes. I think I was maybe only a half a step behind you in terms of expectations for this guy and what it would mean for the Steelers offense and what he still had left in the tank. But I didn't think that was going to translate to 4 touchdown passes in the first game of the season.
Or that many points. Yeah, I mean, we have not, or an opening drive touchdown. Maybe we should have opened the show with the opening drive touchdown.
Didn't do it all last year.
Right.
You want to know the last time the Steelers opened a season with an opening drive touchdown?
Oh, man, I don't even.
2008 against the Houston Texans.
Holy smokes. Okay, wow.
Long time. I was still in high school, Matt.
Wow.
I'm a 34-year-old father of 2 now.
Right. So, no, there's a lot of good. I mean, this game, as much as I can remember, the good column we could really talk about. And we might as well start there, of course.
Absolutely.
I think Rodgers is at the top of it with Boswell. And the bad column is as pretty obvious. I mean, there's things that should I go in this column or this column? Oh, I know what column to put all these things in. So let's start with Rodgers. First of all, I'm not going to start with Rodgers. I'm just going to talk about old guys and leadership and being around the block. I think that was huge in this game, that one team is trying to learn how to win and first-time head coach. The other one always has a winning record and wins one-score games like it's their job and has Cam Hayward and Watt and Rodgers and Ramsey and Slay and Metcalf. A lot of these guys are new, not all of them, that understand that the fight is not lost just because we're not good at some things. You know, that in the end, this is going to come down to a couple plays probably in the fourth quarter. And I think there's an art to making those plays. And obviously the guy that touches the ball every snap, the quarterback, has a ton to do with that. You know, we've joked, I mean, it just ended, but Pat Mahomes won 17 one-score games in a row.
That's insane.
I mean, that's not an accident. You know what I mean? Let alone the Rodgers and Cams and guys that have been around the block over and over and over and understand what it takes to win in this league. And Tomlin's really good at that too. And I think that they overcame some major deficiencies to make plays at the most opportune times.
That's a good way to put
both
it.
sides of the ball, and especially on special teams, and that's why you won. I'm down in, down out. I didn't think they were the better team.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my
on that day.
I'm gonna do my rewatch tonight,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking maybe tomorrow we could unveil like a new segment, maybe like a Tuesday rewind or something like that, where we bring up something that we didn't discuss on Monday that we noticed from our rewatch. What's so crazy to me is, I mean, hey, I was thinking driving in here, like it's been a long time since we saw the Steelers offense win a game, but that's not technically true because they did last year in Cincinnati.
True. Oh, yeah, that's your point.
I mean, they scored 42 points,
Yeah.
and the defense gave up 38, I believe was the final score of that game, if I'm remembering correctly. The offense won the Steelers a game that day.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't happen often in the last 5 years or so, but, right.
And I think if I would have called you up at halftime, or maybe even told you before the game, the Steelers are going to have 22 rush yards on 10 attempts at the half.
Oh.
They're going to have 22 yards on the ground, averaging 2.2 yards per carry in the first 30 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
I think we would have both said, even if Aaron Rodgers plays great, it's not going to be enough to overcome that.
Yeah, he's not the Superman that's going to throw 4 touchdowns.
That's the most impressive part of the offense winning the game to me.
Yes.
Is that they still had nothing on the ground.
And frankly, I thought their protection was terrible too.
Not very good.
I mean, if you coupled that, I'd be like, oh, they lost 30-0. Like they can't protect. Quinn and Williams, those 2 first-round picks coming off the edge for the Jets are winning consistently in the pass rush department. Where are the points coming from? Well, I think a lot of it, I give credit to Rodgers and Arthur Smith matching their philosophies and working together for the first time and figuring out we don't know exactly what we're getting from this defense. We know they have some good players, Sauce, the Williams brothers, those 2 edge guys. We know that this is a defensive-minded head coach who's aggressive, and they obviously had a game plan like any game going in, but you didn't have any tape to go off of, and you're going to have to improv on the fly. And there were some themes that really worked. First off, one theme was terrible, is they couldn't run the ball at all. And I'm not saying they gave up trying, but they didn't just keep pounding their head against the rock either. I know Metcalf had a really good day, but they rarely threw at Sauce. I mean, Metcalf had most of his production when it wasn't Sauce. Austin, there was a just don't throw at Sauce situation because the rest of their secondary is pretty bad, to be honest with you. So why would you? Why test their best dude when there's a noticeable drop-off? To me, one of the most important things or telling things from the passing game, though, and people are going to take this as a negative, but I think it was forced and they still made it work really well. Rodgers didn't throw a pass 20 yards downfield or further. His average depth of target was remarkably low. Ball came out of his hands really, really fast because they couldn't protect. And so he's a very quick processor. They threw a lot of screens. Some of them worked, some didn't. They had 171 yards after the catch. And we haven't talked about this a lot, but we've talked about how sacks are as much a quarterback stat as O-line stat. After the catch is as much a quarterback stat as having Tyreek and good guys after the catch. You got to hit him in stride. The ball's got to be there on time.
Throw him open.
You throw him open. Go to the right people at the right time. So that stuff was wonderful. So it wasn't we're just going to drop back and sling it 50 times. We're going to get it out. We're going to nickel and dime you. We're going to let our guys make plays after the catch. And we're going to avoid Sauce, and we're going to avoid their pass rushers because we're not handling those things very well, and we're not running the ball at all, and you still generated a lot of points. That, to me, is promising.
It's promising. I think.
Well, some of it. I wish they could block better.
I was going to say it's promising if they improve in the deficient areas.
To still get a W out of that is promising.
And score over 30 points.
Right. And it wasn't a 13-9 game.
It wasn't. It was. Oh, on Brawl Week, you just had to do that one to me. Huh?
Yeah, right.
I think that's spot on. That passing chart is weird to look at, isn't it?
It is weird
because you could see
a good one. We haven't seen a good one in 1,000 years.
I was going to say I think it's exciting because there's a lot of middle of the field stuff.
Yeah,
which haven't we been screaming about in this town for the length of a presidential election?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like an Olympic cycle.
Right.
And there was a ton of that. The 20 yards downfield, you see that. You see, I think, what his average depth of target was like 4.6, 4.8 yards.
It was under 5.
Under 5 yards.
Yeah.
But I still think all things considered, you couldn't run the ball like you wanted to.
No.
Sauce was doing Sauce things.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers got sacked 4 times.
And he's not going to elude the rush. He's going to recognize unblocked defenders. He's going to know where the blitzes are coming from. And it's a pretty blitz-heavy team, too. He's going to know Quentin Williams is giving our guys problems. I mean, he's going to know everything, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be like the game last night, where Lamar does this crazy stuff. I mean, those days I think are gone with Rodgers. But he is willing to sit there and take the hits, which worried me. I mean, I don't think he was
– a couple of those.
It wasn't like,
they got him.
Here. Right. It was, and I just don't think he's going to extend plays. But if the blocking would be a little better for him, the average depth of target's going to go up. And he throws the ball well. He throws the ball well.
Does he ever?
Right. That's like burying the lead,
Still. I mean, it looks different coming off his hand. It's absolutely crazy.
He's still really impressive. Right.
It's a very good way to put it. And I figured that we would see that from Aaron Rodgers this season. I didn't think it was going to be week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that kind of performance, throwing the ball that much, doing it that successfully.
I kind of just assumed, and we said this to some degree, more or less whoever runs the ball or deals with the run game better is probably going to win this. And that was clear which team did.
On both sides of the ball.
Both sides
much
of the ball.
Better.
Way better. And they still lost, the team that did that.
They sure did. And it's not like there was some crazy turnover differential outlier or
right.
something like that. It was just finding a way to win.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, the Steelers go down 9 points there right late in the second quarter. Like in the past, it'd be like, we're down 2 possessions. We're in trouble. This game might be over. I know
just
it's only
a different outlook.
I know it's a little before halftime here, but this game might be over.
Mm-hmm.
It is certainly a different outlook. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, was definitely the guy that was the straw that was stirring that drink.
No, absolutely. The catalyst for it all. And again, I think a lot of it is a lot of veteran leadership led by a quarterback that the game's never quite over, and we'll figure out a way to win because we got a lot of time left, Now, there were a couple plays, but there's an art to this, too, that Boz hitting a 60-yarder is incredible. Oh, by the way, he hit a 56 as well. People don't even talk about that. That's like walking a park.
That's just assumed at this point.
Yeah, nothing to it. Obviously, the Gainwell causing a fumble on the kickoff return gave him a short field, turned into 7 immediately, was a massive, massive play. But that's not a fluke. I'm not saying these things are flukes. And the other thing was the Jets chasing these 2-point conversions. They got 0 points out of what could have been 2 extra points or two-point conversions. And frankly, I don't even blame the rookie head coach for going for 2 after the penalty because you're half the distance. You probably should do it. But then he chased it again. You lose by 2. That could have been 2 extra points. Like in these fine lines, those couple plays all went the Steelers' way.
And man, they've just had a knack for doing that.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah. Again, that's I'm not saying that's fluky.
No, it's not. It's part of their DNA. In fact,
right.
When you do that, and you get a performance like you got from Aaron Rodgers, you can overcome a lot of that negative that we discussed.
Usually, it's like, they won in the margins with turnovers and that extra point and
blocked
Boz
the punt.
Right. Yeah, but the quarterback was the 25th best quarterback of the week. Well, this guy
he was top 10 this week.
Exactly, right.
He certainly was. Matt, we have certainly got some news of the day to get into.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's press conference just happening a few hours ago, and some moving and shaking with the Steelers roster pretty significantly here. Let's kind of dive into this first with Mike Tomlin's injury updates.
Yeah, I want to start there, yeah.
And I think
then we'll get into the move.
That will kind of lead to the move that the Steelers have made, the addition that the Steelers have made here to the roster as well. So, at his weekly Tuesday press conference, Mike Tomlin, for this upcoming week against Seattle, the home opener, of course, 1 o'clock at Acrisure Stadium, ruling out Derek Harmon.
Okay.
Ruling out Deshaun Elliott.
Okay.
Ruling out Malik Harrison.
Okay.
Those 3 will be out, all oddly enough, with knee injuries. So a similar type of, same church, different pew for those 3. Mike Tomlin said he is optimistic about Joey Porter Jr. and Nick Herbig.
Good. Okay. Herbig was 50-50-ish a week ago. I thought it was a good move to keep him out. Harrison played some outside linebacker in his stead. Sawyer played quite a bit. Now you don't have the Harrison option. And Harrison and Sawyer are much different players than Herbig. And Seattle does want to run the ball a lot, but not to the Jets level, I don't think. I mean, Jets are a running team and did it very well, obviously. Herbig's not a run stuffer, so give him another week. Cool. Harmon, no shock there. I mean, I think we knew that. Maybe next week we'll start to have the conversation of maybe, or does he go to Ireland with us, or who knows? We'll see. The big news to me, well, not to discredit Harrison. I mean, Harrison's a decent player. He's a bottom of the roster guy. He's a good special teamer. But Elliott was one I was concerned about, especially, and I'll break the news, I'm sure people already know, when it comes across that they signed Jabril Peppers, I immediately thought,
that's not great.
Season ender for Elliott, this is terrible. And then all the reports started to come out, since the press conference, that no, that's not the case. But did he, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, did he mention Harrison or more importantly Elliott as injured reserve guys, or are they like week to week? I got the impression they were more week to week, especially Elliott.
I did as well, too. I don't know if he laid that out, directly.
The exact roster.
The exact kind of spot that they're in right now. But according to...
That's not always his move either. Say, well, this guy's going to injured reserve. You just get the notice in an hour or whatever. Yeah, right.
According to the insiders.
Right,
the Jordan Schultzes of the world, the Adam Schefters of the world. Deshaun Elliott will miss a couple weeks with an MCL sprain.
Okay.
All things considered, not viewed as a serious injury. The goal is to be back for week 4 against the Vikings in Ireland. That last part, according to Jordan Schultz.
Great. So that's probably avoids IR. I mean, IR is at least 4, so...
Which your boy George Kittle just got placed on as
just
well,
happened,
too.
Right?
I think this is...
And that can change, because like a day ago, Kittle's like, yeah, he's going to avoid IR, things are good. No, we're putting him on IR.
Things can always change rapidly. But I think...
Inflammation doesn't go down, or I don't know the medical stuff that's happening. But.
In the grand scheme of things, hey, like all 5 of those names, those injured names that I read off for you to start the segment, to start the show here, are all on the defensive side of the football.
They're all defenders, though, yeah.
So it's like there's already a little bit of attrition on that side, and that is
and the offense was better than the defense on Sunday.
Yes, they were. I think, to say the least, I think that's fair to say. The good news is, though, like losing a guy like Derek Hardman for the year or for a long period of time would have been detrimental.
Oh, yeah.
Losing Deshaun Elliott for the year or for the long period of time could have bordered on catastrophic. Relatively, for those guys just to be a couple weeks, it still feels like you dodged a bullet and it's still manageable.
Yeah, I think in the scheme of things, when you compare it to 31 other teams, you'll take it. I mean, it's probably not number 1. It's definitely not 32. You'll take it. At this stage of the game, Harmon went off and originally went, oh, that looked bad. Elliott went off, immediately was ruled out. Oh, that looks bad. And usually it's bad. Well, it wasn't that bad, at least. It's not great. The Porter stuff doesn't shock me either. I just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, you do get a lot of strains and pulls and things like that, especially week 1, dehydration, heat, haven't played a ton. So that one, as long as it wasn't like a tear or anything, I wasn't overly concerned about. Should we talk Peppers now?
I was going to say, that's where this all leads. There was, as you mentioned, the news of the Steelers signing Jabril Peppers came across the timeline before Mike Tomlin's press conference, before the Deshaun Elliott news came across the timeline.
Yes.
So I had the same reaction. Like we have
oh no.
We have a group chat that's like the broadcast booth on game days, basically.
Okay,
So Rob King, Max Starks, Missy Matthews, myself, and Dan Quinlan.
Gotcha.
And right when that news of Jabril Peppers broke, Missy sent it to the group, and Max and I, like seconds apart, texted like, "Oh no, that's not good about Elliott."
Immediately what I thought, right.
But that ended up not being the case, which is good news. But you're still, we would think, going to need Jabril Peppers at least for a few weeks to play some kind of role. So what's that scouting report look like? What can we expect from him?
First off, I have no clue if there's any truth to this or not, but I was shocked he got cut, first of all. Now, I think he was let go of New England for 2 reasons. First off, he's a big personality. He's a handful, from what I understand. Good, bad. So is Ramsey. So is Rodgers. That's not unusual, and the Steelers are not shying away from that at all.
Certainly not.
In fact, they're embracing it. But it's not like they're bad people or not competitive or taking plays off.
Just
it's kind of the opposite.
Big personalities.
It's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
It's a lot. They're on. And frankly, he didn't fit this scheme as well as the Belichick scheme. Belichick wants guys that can do a lot of things really well, which is exactly what Peppers does. That they're more of a 2-high scheme now with Vrabel and this defensive coordinator, which the further away from the ball, the less effective he is. They could find a different, and he's making money. So let's save some money. We're a rebuilding team. It's not going anywhere. He's not a perfect scheme fit. Okay, we'll move on. And I was shocked when it happened, but I did some homework today, and that all adds up. No, but what I was thinking, though, is I've been praising the defensive depth for months now, really. The Steelers' defensive depth. Omar's done a great job. Tons of defensive linemen he brought in. Extra outside linebacker. If Eccles is your fourth corner, wow, that's great. But safety was the one spot where I didn't think it was very good. Holcomb's a great third inside linebacker. But safety, even when everyone was healthy, I was kind of like, Chuck Clark's okay. Got you out of the game yesterday, but he's not someone I'm begging to play big nickel with when everyone's healthy with 3 safeties on the field.
And you've been talking about this since the Minka trade.
Right.
This is something you've brought up a few times along that.
Yeah. So you mentioned this a couple weeks ago. If you sign a vested veteran after week 1, he's not guaranteed anything. So I'm just curious. This deal might have been in the works last week before the injury. Just curious. He would have been useful if Elliott was 1,000%, because I think he's better than Clark and will be used in a similar manner. Now, here's my scouting report on him. I mean, he was a phenomenal college player.
Oh, he was.
People probably remember that.
He was like his high school highlight tape, and coming out his senior year of high school, he was the #1 recruit on a lot of people's big boards.
Yeah, he was like Charles Woodson comparisons at Michigan, right?
He had like a Reggie Bush type highlight tape.
Okay.
As a defensive back.
Legendary.
Like a legendary high school tape as a safety, defensive back, do-it-all stud on his high school team.
Yes, and ended up high in the Heisman balloting, despite being
finished top 5 in Heisman Trophy.
I think he played a lot of offense for Michigan, from what I remember too.
Yes.
I mean, he was.
I don't know if a lot, but I think he did some. But yeah, that was the year.
Maybe, or I can't remember. He had the ball in his hand some.
It was the year that Lamar won the Heisman Trophy.
Okay.
Funny enough.
But he ended up like 4th or 5th in the balloting, I think you said, again behind Baker and guys that were really good. Deshaun Watson,
Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson.
Not bad.
Not bad.
All quarterbacks, etc. So he's a high pick. He's had a really good career. We don't need to go his whole history, but the recent tape of him is still really good. I don't think he's declining at all. I think he's a good, not great athlete. That's why I say the further away from the ball, his change direction's okay. He's a lot more linear, fast in a straight line, more of a downhill player. If he's a too high guy, you want him coming towards the line of scrimmage more than flipping his hips and going backwards. But still, he's better than Chuck Clark at those things. So you improved that aspect of it. He's more strong than free, better near the line of scrimmage. But he's really versatile. And if you look at his snaps over his career, he's played slot, he's played linebacker, he's played safety, he's played free, he's played too high. And I wouldn't say he's awesome at any of them, but he's not deficient in any. I mean, I think he's quite good in all. Exceptional tackler, like rare tackler, rarely misses a tackle. And when he gets there, he's a thumper with aggression. Physical. Yes. He can blitz. I think he's a better football player than Chuck Clark. And when everybody's healthy, I think you might start thinking about some big nickel stuff, assuming he fills in for Elliott and you like what you saw. So it's kind of a gift that he's still out there. And again, they may have jumped on him a week ago. You know what I mean?
That is an interesting point from you, that maybe this is something that they had been planning on, hoping on.
Boy, I can't believe he's available and we could use a safety. Yeah.
And you and I talked about a little bit of that with Pierre as well, too, since he was active on the roster week 1. Now his contract is guaranteed the entire season.
Yeah.
Because he's a vested veteran as well, too. So maybe there was some of that conversation of, hey, we can't afford to have both of these guys on the salary hook for the rest of the season.
Jabril, how about we sign you in a week?
How can we make this work for week 1 and then go from there? And that makes a lot of sense. It certainly does.
And my hunch is probably there was 5 teams saying, hey, Jabril, why don't we sign you after week 1? And maybe this injury is enough for him to pick the Steelers. Or maybe it was already a done deal.
Maybe he was already leading this way.
Yeah.
The safety room looks a little bit thin.
Right.
And then you suffer an injury week 1, and that is just kind of the confirmation that you need there.
Like, it's great that Ramsey can play safety, but I don't want him to just play safety. Right? Or that's kind of defeats some of the purpose here. Right?
in a weird way, like I want Ramsey closer, not for the same reasons as you would say about Jabril Peppers, but I want Ramsey close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't want him off the ball. I don't want him 10, 15 yards off the ball, and not because he can't turn his hips and get downfield, but because I want him up near the line of scrimmage. I want him on defensive backs, playing physical, able to blitz from the slot every once in a while.
Like I want all his avenues available. Right.
Exactly right. I want him to be able to have every option on the table and not be handcuffed in any regard. And as you kind of alluded to, I don't think that this is just a stopgap, don't sink the boat for the next couple weeks type signing.
No, I don't think you're renting him for a week or two and then send him on his way. I think he's here.
This is somebody who should have an impact, even, and we do this a lot as sports fans, sports media, whatever, like when everyone's healthy.
Mm-hmm. Which never is the case.
And then you get to that time and somebody else is banged up somewhere else, nicked up from something, one in the outdoor, one in the indoor type thing there. So I think that this is not going to be a, hey, we need you for a couple weeks and then see ya. I think his role will obviously change and evolve, but that this could and should be a guy that's with the Steelers for the next 16 regular season games.
Yeah, and it wouldn't blow me away if he's on the team next year. I mean, he's a good football player that's valuable. If this works out, bring him back. That wouldn't shock me one bit. I'm not saying it's a Joe Hayden pickup, but I mean, you kind of got a freebie here. Yeah, is the way I look at it. You got a good football player you gave nothing up for.
I agree with you.
Jump on it.
I think a name that a lot of people are familiar with. He's a former first-round pick, like Matt and I discussed. I mean, he was a Heisman.
He's like 29 years old, give or take.
I was going to say, because he was in that same draft class with Lamar and Baker and those guys. So that would about line up there. But yeah, a big name and a lot of kind of news of the day here as we get rolling. If you missed it at the start of the segment, Derek Harmon, Deshaun Elliott, and Malik Harrison all ruled out for Sunday's home opener against Seattle. Mike Tomlin saying he's optimistic about the availability of Joey Porter Jr. and Nick Herbig.
So, Wes, one other little thing before we go to break.
Yep.
In order to add Peppers on the roster, somebody has to go. So, I don't know we know that answer yet. I bet we won't know that even until tomorrow. So, I don't know if does Harrison or Elliott go to IR? Doesn't sound like it. Or is somebody else getting chopped, But, I mean, you can't just add them for free.
No, you cannot.
There are roster limits, right.
Again, if someone comes in the indoor, someone's got to go out the outdoor.
Right.
Wasn't that a Rolling Stones song or a Rolling Stones album or something? In through the outdoor?
That's
Zeppelin, you're right. Sorry, that's a fatal mistake around you.
Get a break, dude.
Good thing Tony Pauline's not in here with us, or my head would be chopped off right now.
So I don't think I've ever told you this, but back in the day, like when Twitter was new, I used to host a chat on ESPN.com, a chat room, and everybody would come join.
Like a live chat, submit your questions, and answer them on the fly.
Very popular. I really enjoyed it. It was from noon to 1 every Wednesday. And that was like the perfect middle of the week when you like turn the page to next week. And that's where we're at right now,
Absolutely. Kind of the moving and shaking in terms of coaches' press conferences and injury updates and all those things. Those tend to come out Monday, Tuesday. And then you're right, Wednesday's kind of all right, any final thoughts on everything that transpired?
Let's put that to bed.
And then let's start to look ahead here at the upcoming opponent, the upcoming week, the NFL slate.
Yep.
We've got another
especially from a media perspective, like where we sit.
100%.
We do 2 shows kind of recapping, chatting, blah, blah, blah. But now it's time like, okay, it's the middle of the road here,
Start to turn the page a little bit. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have another very intriguing Thursday night football game that we'll discuss tomorrow as we are back and running and really into the thick of things here. We will also, about half an hour, 40 minutes from now, we're going to, I don't know if we'll do it every single week, Matt, but I think at least pretty regularly, a college quarterback conversation where we will lay out a lot of those 5, 6, 7 names, what they've been doing, stock up, stock down, a little college quarterback watch that I think we're going to continue to do and that everybody should be very interested in because a very high chance the Steelers are going to be swimming in those waters on the North Shore in April.
No question about it. I think there's a real good chance I think that's the plan. Now Rodgers could win the Super Bowl and the MVP and say, hey, I want to come back. Let's wait a year. All right, cool. Whatever, draft it, whatever. But I think Steelers are going to be one of 5 to 7 teams or so heavily associated with first-round quarterbacks.
without a doubt, and it feels like a good year to be one of those teams. There's certainly a lot of meat on that
So far, so
bone,
good, yeah.
And we will discuss that today as well, too. We'll catch up with Chris Halleck. And
new guest of the show. How about that?
New guest of the show, Chris Halleck, going to be one of our regulars here. And a special guest of the show, Ben Skowronek, going to join us.
How about that?
As well, too, here in about 15 minutes or so. So that we can catch up on the big day that he had Sunday, the touchdown reception, the fumble recovery. We'll spend a few minutes talking to Ben Skowronek here in just a few minutes.
Highly useful player. You need those role guys. You need those fourth-line wingers. You know what I mean?
It's a great analogy. I think everyone is really, I don't know how you couldn't after Sunday's performance where his value, like I mentioned, those 2 massive plays, I thought he was a net positive every time he was on the field.
Yeah.
And
it's been a common theme since he's been a Steeler.
And that's been a common theme since he's been a Steeler. It's not like they ask him to play a huge role, but what they ask him to do, he does very well, very effectively. And yeah, be looking forward to talk to him about 15 minutes or so from now as the Steelers get ready for their home opener. I'm sure he'll be excited about that as well. But Matt, we start with some news of the day as we tend to do here on this program. We had discussed some of the injury news from yesterday, the addition of Jabril Peppers, what that might mean for the active roster. Could someone be going on IR? How's that all going to look?
Somebody had to go. Yeah,
If you're adding one, you got to subtract one. Led Zeppelin, if one goes in through the outdoor, you got to go out through the indoor, something like that. It's not the Rolling Stones, it's Led Zeppelin. That's all you need to know. Active roster additions today, Matt. Jabril Peppers and James Pierre moved to the active roster.
And real quick on Pierre, this is different than the game day call-up move. This is now you're on the 53.
Correct, because he was still technically a practice squad guy.
Exactly.
Even despite
didn't make the final roster.
Even despite the game day call-up. So Jabril Peppers, of course, now of this parish, now a Pittsburgh Steeler, and James Pierre to the active roster. With that, Malik Harrison, who we talked about his knee injury yesterday, and Skylar Thompson have been placed on the injured reserve list.
Now, I know one's a corner, one's a safety, but I do find it interesting you add 2 defensive backs and don't subtract any. So does the Pierre move tell you that Porter's more doubtful than questionable? Let's start with that one. Or are they just sick of bringing him up because he's just like Skowronek and a core special teamer?
It could be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think we saw that they are very confident in their top 4 cornerbacks, and particularly with Ramsey and Eccles, whatever role they have to ask them to play.
Yes, agreed.
But
again, if Eccles is your 4th corner, that is way better situation. With all respect to Pierre, usually Pierre's like your 3rd or 4th, and he shouldn't be. He should be your 5th and your special teamer. If Eccles is your 4, I've been joking all week, like that's the best depth at corner they've had since the 70s. I don't think
it's particularly close.
Right.
And he's a guy he doesn't only check the you feel confident about him out there box, he checks the versatility box as well too.
Yeah, inside out,
he doesn't play it's the Beanie Bishop conversation that we had. Beanie Bishop accounts for 1 helmet on game day. Eccles accounts for 3 helmets on game day.
Backs up 3 guys, right.
And that is quite often the difference in getting onto the field, and certainly the difference in feeling more confident in that group. So it's a good question for you to ask as it relates to Joey Porter.
First it dawned on me, it was a couple minutes ago, but I also was thinking through this. You could always use Joey Porter. He's a really good player. But if this is a Ramsey following JSN situation, who's a heavy slot component guy, I kind of think Cooper Kupp shot and Horton, the rookie, is their 3rd guy, and they don't play a ton of 3 wide. Maybe this isn't the best week, or maybe this is a good week to give Porter 1 more rest, and have Pierre active. Eccles is your 3. I can handle that. You know what I mean?
A lot of times, I think we can be too detail-oriented, pedantic. That's the big word to use, right? That's being obsessed with small details, pedantic.
Okay, look that up.
I think sometimes we can be pedantic with what coaches say week in, week out. But when Mike Tomlin was talking about Herbig and Joey Porter Jr.,
yeah,
I forget exactly now on the spot what the exact quote is, but he said he was optimistic about Joey Porter Jr., but very optimistic about Nick Herbig. Okay. So there was a distinction there between the two. Now that you asked that question, could that be?
They're not the same.
Could that be reading the tea leaves? They're not the same.
Right.
He used an extra, an extra word there to describe his excitement. Very optimistic for Nick Herbig, I believe, is what it was.
Okay.
So there was a little bit, looking back in hindsight, a little bit more of a distinction between those two who are in the questionable realm.
It reminds me of a conversation I had in the post-game show with Mike Pursuta, who's been probably been at every Tomlin press conference and knows Tomlin speak after the years, and flat out, I'll tell you the story in a minute, but it was after Harmon's injury in the preseason, and Mike and I are hosting the pregame show, and a lot of us are like, oh, look, Harmon's on the sidelines, he's joking, he's not going on IR, they avoided a huge injury, which ended up being true. But Pursuta, and his, hate to say it, wisdom, is like, Tomlin did say he used the word substantial with the injury. Like the words that come out of that head coach's mouth aren't accident ever. Like the fact that he deciphered between Porter and Herbig, the fact that he said substantial with Harmon doesn't mean he's practicing the next day, is what Hal Pursuta said. Like, tap the brakes. He could still be an IR guy, but it looks like he's avoided season ending. And he was right. It was end up being 4 to 5 weeks from the day of the injury,
And now that we're kind of all rehashing this too, he painted a more optimistic picture all throughout camp and preseason with Calvin Austin.
Yes.
And we saw him ready to go, no problem, no questions, week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. We can be too pedantic with that stuff, but I think when it's someone like Mike Tomlin, who's
been
his
first year coaching, right?
Or
our first year trying to decipher what he says.
Closer to his 20th year. It's closer to his 30th year coaching than it is his first year coaching. And so, you know what? I hadn't kind of put the tea leaves together in that regard, but as
we talk through it, maybe Porter's a little more questionable than you think, and Herbig isn't.
I think that's a fair thought process at this point. We will obviously consult injury reports and all of that as we roll along this week. Final kind of thing with that now. With Skylar Thompson to the reserved injured list as well too. Logan Woodside has been bumped up.
Yeah.
As Will Howard is still. Now, who knows? That could change.
Howard could come back.
That could change soon too.
Right.
Because he's kind of starting to get similar with Derek Harmon, right in that timetable of could be ramp up period. But for now, Woodside's the one bumping up there. And if we don't hear anything about Will Howard's status, he would be obviously your emergency QB3 for the home opener on Sunday.
It's good to have Woodside around, but I think we saw enough of him to know what he is. Like if it gets to the point where he's in an NFL game, we got problems. You got major problems.
You've had some serious bad luck in the injury department, without a doubt, if that is the case.
Now we know this organization. It's not even a Tomlin thing necessarily. I mean, this is a Rooney thing for 50 years or whatever. They keep 3, and I bet they're a little nervous with 2 on the roster right this second. I mean, that's just not how they operate. So it tells me, again, I'm guessing that Howard must be close, and they're probably going to bring him back on real soon. You know what I mean? Real quick before I forget, doesn't break my heart that you're without Harrison for a while. Yeah, I mean, I think he's replaceable. You didn't even play a snap of Holcomb at inside linebacker. That card's still out there to be played. Bruner's a real good special teamer. Pierre's now on the active roster. You're okay. I mean, that doesn't hurt you. What I find kind of curious or funny, and not accusing them of anything, but did Skylar Thompson drop a headset or a the clipboard on his toe during the game? I mean, how did he get banged up?
Remember, on the last injury report before the game, he was listed with a hamstring.
Was he? Okay, I didn't pay much attention. Okay.
In that final Friday injury report,
you can get hurt in practice, I suppose.
He was listed before the Jets game.
It just works out well that you can place him there for a little bit.
I see the cynic in you.
Did you get a hangnail that I didn't know about? Okay. That's fine.
He jumped out of his car too fast and bumped his head on the roof of his truck.
A lot of ways you can get banged up out there.
There certainly are. We've seen some crazy ones, but yes, he was. You're right. I should have mentioned that too. He was on the injury report, the last injury report Fridays.
I didn't even pay attention. Didn't notice.
Heading into that Week 1 contest against the Jets.
And you'd hope you don't need him this week, or
certainly.
See.
Certainly, and you feel. Obviously, goes without saying, very confident in Mason Rudolph as your number 2.
Very.
But you still want some, I think, greater insurance with your emergency quarterback. But that's the hand they've been dealt for now, and that's where we're at, and we'll navigate that as we roll along here. And
at any team, if they lose 2 quarterbacks in the same game, you're probably not winning either way.
And
it's probably an L.
Yes, you're up to your waist in it at that point.
Yeah,
maybe even up to your shoulders or your chin. We now go to the phone lines and we welcome a special guest from your Pittsburgh Steelers, a huge part of that 34-32 win over the Giants to open the season. It is wide receiver Ben Skowronek. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time. And I just got to ask you, I mean, you were a part of two very integral plays in the Steelers securing victory. Of course, your touchdown reception and then your fumble recovery on special teams. Which one of those did you enjoy more? I imagine it was the touchdown reception, Steelers' first touchdown of the season. But I also know the pride you all put in taking your work on special teams. Which one of those got you a little more jacked up?
I don't want to offend anybody in the organization, so they both got me, pretty jacked up.
Good answer.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anybody, but it was fun scoring a touchdown.
So Wes kind of mentioned it. I mean, you've become an exceptional special teams player, and I'm always curious. Like, I don't know your history, but I assume you were a pretty darn good high school player and a great junior high player. And when did you get thrust into special teams, and at what age and what stage of your development did you really dedicate yourself to becoming as good as you are in that phase?
Well, actually, I played some kickoff in high school.
Did you?
Kickoff, and I played kickoff return, but I always liked kickoff because I played a lot of offense and I was able to just run down the field. And usually in high school, the guys that end up going D1 and make it to the NFL, they're usually, bigger, faster, and stronger than the people they're lined up against. So I would just run down the field and just smack somebody, and that was a lot of fun. And then when I got to college, I did not play much special teams at all. And when I went to the NFL, I found out if you're not a starting player, you better play special teams or you're not going to have a job for long. So I had a great coach my first 2 years in LA, Joe D. Camillus, and he made it fun and taught me a lot. And then, obviously coming here, then I had Chase Blackburn my third year in LA, and he taught me a bunch of stuff. And then I came here and, have, a Hall of Fame coach in Danny Smith and, older players to learn from. So, I'm still evolving. There's still things I can get better on in that phase of the game. But just being an offensive player that's able to go cover kicks, it's a lot of fun for me because, I hate being labeled as a receiver. I'd rather have the Steelers list my position as FP, football player, because I like to tackle, I like to block, I like to catch. I just, want to be a football player first. And Coach Tomlin always emphasizes the importance of special teams and team meetings and stuff. So, it's a very big part of what we do in Pittsburgh, PA. And, you saw it on Sunday. It turned the game a little bit for us.
Ben, I was the director of football ops at Akron a million years ago when Chase Blackburn was our star linebacker. That's a good guy to learn from, man.
Oh, he's a great guy, man. I had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's cool.
I talked to him on Sunday night, so we stay in touch still, and he's a great guy.
That's a full circle moment here on the Steelers Audio Network. Ben, what's that mindset for you like, though? Because, when DK Metcalf catches a touchdown pass, he gets to go to the sidelines and get some pats on the back and breathe for a minute. You catch a touchdown pass and you're right back out there into a different phase of the game. What's that mindset, that focus have to be like for you?
Well, yeah, you just want to celebrate with your teammates. Obviously the offensive line works hard, and then, all 11, and then the guys on the sideline want to congratulate you, And for me on that one, I told myself all offseason, once we got Aaron, I was like, if I catch a touchdown from him this year, I'm keeping the ball. Well, the funny thing is, it was his first touchdown with the Steelers too, but, he said I can keep the ball. I want to get that one signed from him because he's going to be a gold jacket guy, so that'll be cool.
He's thrown a bunch of them.
Yeah, he's got like 500 some.
Right.
So, that was the first order of business. I was like, all right, I got to get this ball to somebody, get this thing, make sure I get this ball, back to Pittsburgh. Let's not use it the rest of the game. And then luckily there's a TV timeout because you're out of breath when everyone's jumping on you and everything. So there's a TV timeout, and then just back to business. Got to go cover kick. And then, for me, like you said, guys like DK, he's our number one guy, so he just plays offense. But I got to be alert all game, whether it's punt return, kickoff return, field goal block unit, stuff like that. So just got to be alert on the sidelines. Obviously you want to enjoy the good moments, but it's the NFL. If you're, one play doesn't define a game, and you better, make more.
Ben, we don't want to keep you long, but I have to ask you, how much of a stickler for route running and precision is Aaron Rodgers? I'm sure he certainly has a reputation.
It's funny you say that because, being around the league, you kind of hear that. Like me being a sports guy, a football lover, I watch stuff, see stuff, and, that's always been his reputation of he's hard on the receivers. But, I've never really noticed anything that he's too hard on us. I think he just wants to win, and I think we have a group that wants to win. So when he makes a coaching point, it's not like he's being hard on us. It's something that, we expect. We want to be great, and he wants to be great. And, I think the group we have of skill players, there's coaching points that, I think him being demanding is a good thing. I don't think it's a negative thing at all. And, he's not, too demanding to the point where, like, he gives us freedom out there to do, put our own flavor on things and stuff like that. But I think that narrative that he's hard on his receivers, I don't see it. I don't think we have a soft group of people who can't, take coaching from somebody who's won 4 MVPs, won a Super Bowl, had so much success in this league. It's like, don't you want those coaching points? He's coached, Devontae Adams, or played with Devontae Adams, and obviously, like, played with a ton of great players and coaches, and just has so much more football IQ than us. It's like, give me all the information I can get. And I think that's the mindset, DK has, certainly, Calvin Austin, Roman, Scotty, and myself, the tight ends, we're all asking questions. The coaches ask him questions. He asks the coaches questions. It's just a good working environment that we have. And, so far since Latrobe to week 1, I've learned so much football, and, it's fun working with a guy like that, a guy that every single route you run, you can be open. He'll find you. It's not like some other quarterbacks where they're kind of limited in what they can do mentally. Aaron's a very bright guy. He's fun to play with, and I think we're just coming in every day, practice, meetings, whatever, and just having fun and playing football. It's pure football out here in Pittsburgh. It almost feels like we're playing high school again, man, because Coach Tomlin, all he cares about is winning. And I think the culture of the city, man, is awesome, and I think Aaron's really bought into that. And I'll speak for myself. When I came here last year, I was kind of shocked. It was like, it's all football out here. That's what everyone cares about. I love my time in LA, but there's a lot of other things to do out in LA. So I've really enjoyed it out here in Pittsburgh. I think he's enjoying it, and I think our team is real close and just wants to win football games.
Ben Skowronek, Steelers FP football player, kind enough to give us a few minutes of his time here on a busy day. Ben, thank you so much, and all the best in the home opener against Seattle on Sunday.
I appreciate you guys. I can't wait.
We are looking forward to it. Ben Skowronek, there he goes. Great stuff from him, and thanks to Steelers PR for hooking us up with that. I like that, Matt. FP football player.
That he qualifies 1,000%.
He certainly does, and I don't think that's just going to be a one-week phenomenon. I expect to see that from him all throughout the season, as we will do all season on Thursdays. Matt, what do you say we dive into a little Matt's stats here to get us going?
Okay.
I know that there is a lot that we're going to be looking for improvement upon from week 1 to week 2.
Oh, quite a bit.
Real quick, before we get into this, as someone who, you worked for Pitt, you worked for Akron, you worked for the Browns, and I know you weren't a coach, you were in the scouting department, but you're all, part of that same sphere, that same ecosystem together. I think a lot of times you hear the old cliche, the old adage, you improve the most as a team from week 1 to week 2. Do you really put stock into that? How true is that? All cliches have some truth to them, obviously.
Yeah.
But how real is that in the modern age, the modern game?
Well, the thing is, and people don't think about this as much, and it's very true in Pittsburgh, you only think about the Steelers. Well, if it is true, your opponent did too. So if you're playing 50% of your opponent in week 1 and both of you go to 85 in week 2, I know they're different teams, well, the level of play just went up. It doesn't mean all of a sudden you got this great advantage over everybody else. But I do think there's 2 aspects worth really digging into from week 1 to week 2. And some of this carries over into later weeks as well. It's not just like, boom, it's done. The stamina thing is massive to me. I mean, playing that many snaps often in the hottest weather you're going to, but even then, it's just the snap count. I mean,
Football shape.
Cam Hayward's the best example. I mean, I know he's a freak and he's Wolverine and he can do whatever, but what has he done that was even comparable to what he did against the Jets? You know, and he's not alone by any means. I'm just picking him out because he probably did the least, not because of the contract stuff, because he's older. I mean, of any Steeler since the day they were eliminated. And I'm not talking about the weights and work ethic and any of that. I'm just talking about
real
football snaps. You know, nobody did 60 in a row, you know, before Sunday. I mean, the O-linemen don't get to shift out. The quarterbacks don't get to shift out. So there has to be a stamina thing. Your technique fails. Your brain starts to not work as sharp because your body's failing. And you just haven't done it. I mean, 12 snaps or 8 snaps against Carolina's fourth stringers is not the same for Jalen Ramsey and Slay and those guys as let's tackle Justin Fields 1,000 times. So I think that's 1,000% real. And even this week, people will still feel fatigued more than they do in week 8,
sure,
of course, or blah, 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 blah. Now, I also think, and this was true for the Steelers much more so than the Jets, you don't have any tape on these coaches. You know, like, okay, they're all coming from Detroit. They'll probably do Detroit things. That's a start. Or you watched all the players. You have a scouting report on Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams, but you don't know how they're going to be deployed.
Sure.
You have a hunch. You know, maybe I mean, if I were them, the way that they matching what I know about Sauce versus what I know about the Lions, he'll probably follow your number one receiver. But what if he doesn't? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know that for a fact by any means. So you're just kind of hypothesizing, and preseason's not going to give you that answer either. So I think that's a big thing, is at least you get the Bills play the Jets this week. They at least have one game of Jets tape to go off of, which is way more valuable than all the other stuff. You know, and on all the Steelers had was all the other stuff. Now, they're not alone for having to prepare for a team that has all new people. There's tons of turnover in this league.
Totally.
It's not an excuse, but I think it's a lot harder. That I don't exactly know how they're going to play, but I'm going to guess in a pretty strong manner, you know?
And I think that's something you hear every head coach, certainly Mike Tomlin, all other 31 head coaches across the league, going into week 1, they all say it's more about what we do. Like this
yeah.
There is obviously
run our stuff.
That you have familiarity with some of the personnel, you have familiarity with some of the coaching staff, but you don't have any data points from this season. Mm-hmm. All of that is in the past, and obviously things change, they evolve, coaches change and evolve, players change and evolve, the roster turnover, the staff turnover from week 1 to week 2. You hear every coach talk about that. Week 1, it's about us. Like, it's about, I'm not looking at my neighbor's yard. You know what I mean? I'm looking at my own landscaping and what I need to do with the mulch and the bushes and cutting the grass.
Things I can control.
I'm looking at my own house here. When does that really start to flip, that you start to feel like we have enough to really specifically game plan this opponent with tendencies and knowing what they're going to do?
I would say if you had a coach here, they would say 4 games, I start to feel comfortable.
October.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of people do say September is an extension of the preseason. And I think for those reasons, yes, but the games count the same. You know, like, I hate that point, like, oh, well, you know, get hot down the stretch or all that. You know, I mean, yeah, like I guess you'd rather play better, but like a win's a win.
Right. Like, we all didn't just belittle the Bengals for how slow they've started for the last handful of years.
It's just a math equation at the end of the year of who has the most wins and most tiebreakers goes to the playoffs. It doesn't matter that. Well, that doesn't mean as much in week 1.
Well, tiebreakers don't count from September.
Right.
Yes, they do.
Like it bothered me, it's kind of a side note, that Brazil game was a home game for the Chargers. And why I single that one out and not the upcoming Ireland game for the Steelers is it was a division game. So you play a division game, you only get 3 of those home games as opposed to 8 or 9 other home games. I understand that every team has to give up a home game. Some team has to give up a home game when you play overseas.
Sure.
That's part of the deal now. But it shouldn't be a division game. Because they do count more. And for the Chargers, they won. Good for them.
So all is well that ends well. But
for them, yeah, right. But now they got to go to Kansas City, you know, in the rematch. Kansas City never went to L.A., you know what I mean?
Yes, and the atmosphere will be much different at Arrowhead Stadium than it was on a Friday night in Sao Paulo, certainly.
So a couple other notes is now it's certainly true that most teams are going to be healthier in week 1 than they are in week 2, let alone week 7, week 8, week 10. Mm-hmm. You know, so every team is digging down their depth chart more and more. I mean, you're going to lose people for the year. Unfortunately, it's a brutal sport. The chances are you're less healthy going forward. I mean, you're probably not more healthy. You know what I mean? So I think that's noteworthy. Now, also, I'm just throwing the Jets out there because they're recent. Did they show everything? You know, like, are the Bills going to play it like, okay, I know a lot of what they do. They did a really good job of massaging Fields, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You're setting him up for success.
Totally.
Are they going to do the exact same thing against us, or do they still have like 8 more tricks in the bag? You know, who knows?
You would think that all these teams have more tricks in the bag, more that they didn't get to. You and I both know it's.
And real quick, the Jets found out more about themselves in that game too than anybody else. You know what I mean?
New coach, new quarterback.
I thought he could handle that, but he really couldn't. Or man,
going out about
Membo, I can leave alone against really good pass rushers. You know, I wasn't sure if I could do that or not.
Rookie tackle.
Yeah.
There was a lot that the Jets certainly learned about themselves on Sunday with all that turnover and all that youth that they have injected into the organization and the roster.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. That's just something that I kind of always, what exactly, like, there's no perfect process in all of that. There's no exact blueprint in all of that.
And if every team does get better from week 1 to 2, do you get 10% better? Do you get 3% better? Do you get 50% better? You know, like maybe Seattle got 50% better and the Steelers got 3% better from 1 to 2. We'll see. You know what I mean?
You know, if you're a team like the Niners who had a ton of injuries week 1, I don't know how you can argue, we're going to get better week 2.
We lost George Kittle.
When we lost Kittle and Brock Purdy for a length of period here. So, there's nuance in that. But it is also, again, obviously something that coaches highlight, people discuss. There has to be some truth in that. We start to get a baseline of learning about ourselves. We at least have some data points now of our opponent. And now we head into week 2. And with that, Matt.
One more note.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers are better equipped to handle the rigors, all those things we just mentioned of week 1, better than most teams because of experience. I mean, Tomlin does this every year where, okay, I know week 1's different than week 10, where the Jet staff or, I think I know it's different, but I haven't been down that road. Seattle a year ago was a rookie staff. It's not Vrabel or Carroll that's done this a lot of years. It's just in a new home. I understand week 1 as a head coach. I understand that we're game planning for stuff that doesn't exist, and I'm going to have to adjust on the fly more than most weeks, mostly.
Yes.
And then the other thing is Rodgers, because if you rewatch, I urge people even on the TV copy, just rewatch Steelers Jets, especially on 2nd and 3rd downs. He checked out of a ton of Arthur Smith plays, and that doesn't mean Arthur, I don't think you know what you're doing. It's I come to the line of scrimmage and they're going to show me this. I'm not going to hesitate to go to the best play. If
you're giving me red paint, I'm going to paint the barn red.
Right.
And if you're giving me green paint, I'm going to paint the barn green.
Right. I think it's a big reason Rodgers is here, is to check into the right plays.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that,
where Cam Ward isn't. He's going to come to the line and snap the ball. And this was a play call. I'm going to run it right into it.
Russell Wilson wasn't.
He didn't do the great
that's
job
a guy with Hall of Fame type credentials. And, that for Aaron Rodgers, that's one of the things that he's done best. We obviously all know the highlight tape from his career, the arm strength, the arm accuracy, for a long time of his career, the mobility and the athleticism that he had.
Overall playmaking,
all those things, rightfully so, a big part of the reason why he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame when he retires, but also because of what he can do above the shoulders, what he can do from the neck up. Peyton Manning got a ton of credit for that, rightfully so.
Oh, he's right.
I don't know if Aaron Rodgers gets the credit that he deserves in that regard, but it was a good start, certainly for at least Steelers fans seeing that this past Sunday.
Now, I don't know if Rodgers' career is better than Peyton's. Whatever, we could fight about that, and it doesn't really even matter, to be honest with you. But
they're both all-time
general
greats.
Opinion of them in their prime was Manning's unbelievable from the neck up. They both are, but Rodgers' highlight tape was more, wow, Mahomes before Mahomes, that people said they would cite that first. And as opposed to, man, he's a computer above the neck, and he's a computer above the neck. He knows football as well as, I forget who I was even listening to, but somebody I really respected saying, I would rather have Aaron Rodgers call a game than 15 of the offensive coordinators out there. You know what I mean?
It's not a bad point.
Right. And that's not a knock on the 15 coordinators.
No.
I mean, one might be Arthur Smith. I mean, like he's really, really good at it.
He's spent 2 decades under center and has about as much experience in that regard as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, too, there were a lot of people in Indianapolis, a lot of people in Denver saying that same thing about Peyton Manning.
Right,
like, this guy's sitting in film rooms with him. Like, this guy's smarter than most.
He's
of
better than smarter than all of us in the building, right?
Most of the offensive minds across the league and in this building, and that's
right.
a good resource to have, man.
It's unbelievable, right? But I also want people to realize, at least through one game, Rodgers has shown to be very adaptable. Like he's taken more shotgun snaps. The play action stuff was the highest in like 8 years of his career. I mean, the usage of play action. Okay, I realize I'm willing to change. Did a lot of bootlegging and rolling out, despite his age. I mean, that's an Arthur Smith thing too. So at least through one game, I feel like Smith and Rodgers really had a good thing going.
And I think if that's the starting point and they're only going to improve, they're only going to gel and mesh more from here, that's something to be excited about.
Yeah.
Matt,
But I think that's a huge week one advantage where, like I mentioned, Cam Ward, it's not his fault. He's first overall pick. Sure. He's never played before. He's got to go to Mile High against an awful defense to play against. You can't expect much, Or Caleb Williams on that night against, a madman in Flores,
Last week against the Jets, Pittsburgh's ball carriers averaged a negative 0.3 yards before their first contact.
Pretty brutal.
Compared to, especially when you consider it, when you juxtapose it with what the Jets did in that department.
Talk about difference in holes.
1.6 for New York. So that difference is
nearly
like
a full step.
Nearly a 2-yard difference.
Right.
Between when the Steelers running backs are first facing contact and when the Jets running backs are first getting touched.
I know. There's things about Najee Harris's game I liked and I didn't like, but I always envision him when I see these stats, like just in a barroom fight to get to the line of scrimmage. He'd use his arms a lot. He'd do a lot of upper body stuff, fighting off 320-pound defensive tackles just to get to the line of scrimmage. And that's not going to cut it, No. And especially like from that Jets perspective, Breece Hall, Fields, they're such distance, long speed accelerators. You give them a runway, you get chunk gains every time.
You give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Exactly. So I'm not saying the Steelers don't have explosive backs, but they don't run those Steeler backs aren't going to win races against Hall and Fields. You know what I mean? And you got to do a better job opening holes. They weren't there.
No, they weren't. The pass protection was not up to snuff.
No.
The run game, moving bodies at the line of scrimmage was not up to snuff. And I think when you see that, I mean, again, a 1.9 yard aggregate difference from when the Steelers running backs were facing first contact to when the Jets were. That's not great. That's
huge.
Not where you want to be.
Right.
And that's one of the things.
That's probably shocked no one listening that those numbers backed up exactly what you saw.
I don't think that will come as a huge surprise to everybody. The Jets had 6 explosive runs. That's 10 or more yards in the run game. 0 for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Jaylen Warren did have a 9-yard carry, so right on the edge of having one there. But that's part of that as well, too. Like you mentioned with Justin Fields and Breece Hall, like when those guys can get going, when they can build up momentum, when they can make one move and all of a sudden,
a little bit of green grass,
some green grass, like that makes all the difference in the world. And that's going to be another tall task against this talented Seattle front.
Yeah. Now, kind of the good news is Seattle's offense has had the same problem. I think Charbonnet and Walker basically split carries last year, and they're both good players. I don't blame either one of them for this. Their longest run, I think, was 8 yards between the two of them. I mean, so they
got outrushed pretty significantly by San Francisco as well, too.
Yeah. I mean, time possession, 22 minutes for Seattle. So Seattle's having more struggles than the Jets did in week 1. But if we're sitting here Monday going, boy, Walker and Charbonnet, average first contacts, 2 yards downfield, might be an us problem, not a you problem. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
And so that is, and again, I think everybody understands this. Like, it's not like we're mashing a panic button or anything in this regard. But all throughout. And
I did love Labs' observation that the physical natures of the game aren't going to be as sharp in week 1. I kind of wish I would have brought that up in the first segment.
They take a little bit longer to warm up to.
Yeah. Running game, run defense, tackling, sure.
Another one of those old.
It's not an excuse though.
No, it's not. But another one of those old cliches for a reason is like fatigue makes cowards of us all, right? when you're beat down, when you're worn out, you're not as sharp mentally. You're not as gung-ho to stick your face in the fan.
Oh, absolutely.
And really kind of assert your will and everything that you have to do to be successful in the run game and in the trenches at the line of scrimmage in the National Football League.
It's too often forgotten that these are human beings. They're not
like, robots.
Yeah,
they're not cyborgs.
Not dominoes or checkers on the board.
I would really like to start, and I'm not saying that it doesn't have to be a Mona Lisa on Sunday against Seattle either.
No.
It doesn't have to be a masterpiece.
No.
But I want to see clear-cut improvement. And then I want to see it again in New England, and then I want to see it again in Ireland.
Yeah.
That kind of whole, like what you talked about at the start of the show, at the top of the hour, that whole, first 4 games or so September is about us and just getting better. And yeah, we're game planning for our opponent, absolutely, but it's more about our own landscaping than our neighbors' landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
That's again, it does not have to be by leaps and bounds, but I hope we see improvement in that regard on Sunday.
I assume you're talking about both run defense and run offense.
Yes.
Yeah. I think both are. I think we were focusing more on offense.
On offense, yeah. Particularly the negative 0.3 yards before contact.
Great point, yeah.
And then I don't want to see a number for Seattle that looks like the 1.6 yards before contact like it was for the Jets.
Because at least we have the other data point of Seattle struggling in the same regard as the Steelers offense. All of a sudden, if the Steeler D is just allowing big holes over and over and over, well, you got to really examine what you're doing here.
Yes.
And there's some reasoning behind it. I know we don't have a ton of time, but I think as Labs mentioned, I thought defensive linemen are getting moved way too much into the laps of those linebackers, not letting them do what they can do.
There was a lot of
ripple effect.
A lot of criticism of Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson's performance, and I'm not
They weren't great.
I'm not here to say they were great, but they had a lot of bodies in their lap right after the
Benton
snap.
and Loudermilk are coming at you as well as blockers. There's not a lot of room to operate.
That's the linebacker equivalent of getting contacted behind the line of scrimmage like a running back.
That's a great parallel.
I'm going to be interested. That's one of those things now that I want to keep an eye on, this number, how the Steelers ball carriers, the space that they have before they get contacted, and the opposition ball carrier, the space that they're allowing before contact. It's one of the things I love about the stats packet that you put together every single week is you kind of keep the same conversation points. What the time of possession looks like, what the average yards per play look like. And so
this is maybe why.
Make no mistake about it, this is something we will keep track of as we roll along throughout this regular season.
And there's so many services now, and I don't calculate this stuff. I just find it.
You just go find it.
Right. 10 years ago, you couldn't find those things.
No, absolutely not. And now it's like there are a treasure trove of places to go and find good information.
Yeah. And it's from NFL.com. I mean, it's not some dude in his basement.
It's not a blogger
this is what I
where
figured
you're like,
out. Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I maybe trust this person's work, but what if they made a mistake? What if they didn't
I didn't make it up to prove a point. I'm taking it from the NFL next-gen people. Right.
And a lot of this stats and a lot of this information, you got to have expensive subscriptions to access.
Some, yeah.
as well, too.
Know someone that does.
Or share a login. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. 1 hour in the books, another hour to go. We will get to your tweets in hour number 2. We will get to the latest on the injury front for both of these teams in hour number 2. And, of course, continue to comb over, to peruse through all of Matt's stats. All that and more when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. Back on The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. I'm going to continue to say good evening in hour number 2 because in the next few weeks, Matt, it's going to be dark by this 5 o'clock point anyways, and it really will feel
walking out of here at 6 when it's dark is a little miserable. Yeah.
I am liking now starting my days a little bit slower in this new time slot. In the past, like I would drop my kids off at daycare and I'd be rushing in here to get ready for our morning shows.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah.
In the locker room and Steelers Blitz and all those things. Now I got some more time in the mornings, which isn't the worst thing ever, to kind of take my time and prep the show and get stuff done, whatever that I need to get done. But Yeah, as soon as it's dark at 5 o'clock, that is going to be depressing driving home in the darkness every single night. But we still do have a few weeks till we get there.
My first hour or two is research time. I go to all my sites. I start, a lot of the stat packet ends up in type that guy in. Oh, I like that one. Yep. Add that one. Yeah.
See, I thought you did that like exclusively in the evenings.
Well, then it also happens after 10 p.m. too.
I can always tell.
Right.
I can always tell on
when
the
the
nights.
tweets go out and stuff.
The tweets. That's how I used to tell was the tweets. But sometimes at like 12:30, like a little bit after midnight, I'll get a text from you about something.
Oh, you might get an email
and
too,
I'm like,
or
an email, or I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have a text from you that you sent at 12:30. On my cranium, yeah. An email you sent me at 1:15 a.m. and I'm like, Matt was in his bag last night.
I was rolling,
Matt was up late. He was rolling. He was doing his research.
After Thursday football, I'll probably do something, right.
Yep. And that's...
Actually, after Thursday Night Football, I start putting next week's packet together. Right, I'll start looking Patriot stuff,
He is in the groove. Don't stop him. He's on a roll.
Heck
Much like Animal House. And Matt, and with that, I want to go back to something that stuck out to me that you sent last night in your Seattle Seahawks edition of Matt's Stats. We've talked a lot about the Steelers in 12 and 13 personnel usage, multiple tight end sets, how difficult that could be for teams to defend this year when you have Pat Freiermuth and his skill set, Jonnu Smith and his skill set, Darnell Washington and his body type and his skill set.
Yeah.
Seattle defense only faced 12 personnel last season, 16.7% of the time, fourth lowest in the league.
Yeah, for the whole year.
The Steelers last week were in 12 personnel nearly 54% of the time.
First, right?
First in the league. Now, that number for Seattle is from last year, and this is a new season, new personnel, we talked about at the start of the show.
But still, there's a lot of overlap. I mean, we're only one game into 2025.
But how much is that something that could really be a wrinkle for the Steelers this year? A Seahawks defense.
And they saw very little of it last week because the Niners are a heavy 21 team.
21 team with Juszczyk.
And then Kittle got hurt. And they still allowed 2 touchdowns to tight ends last year. Kittle caught one, and then the dude no one ever heard of came in the game and caught one late, too. So tight ends gave them problems last week.
We saw Pat Freiermuth have a couple big catches on Sunday. We saw Jonnu Smith with the pop pass touchdown on Sunday.
Yeah.
Does this feel like a week where, again, kind of building upon that, what we do from week to week in September, what we want to establish, what we want to be our identity?
Yeah.
Is a lot of 12 personnel and how the Steelers deploy that going to be part of a big part of the story of the offense on Sunday?
I think so. And maybe even more 13 than we saw. Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a possibility as well. Again, Seattle has not seen a ton of it over this coaching staff's regime, which is now 18 games long, So, and not to mention, I think one of the things that they went out of their way to do is, like all 4 teams the Steelers playing to start the season, their first-round pick was an O-lineman, which their O-line was horrendous. And then they got a toy for their head coach in Uhler in the second round, the safety out of South Carolina that has a lot of Kyle Hamilton overlay to him. And why I say that is someone like that, now he's missing this game, it sounds like, and I have not seen today's practice report.
I'm still looking for today's as we sit here, but yesterday's wasn't great for Seattle.
And I was chatting with Rob King earlier. He thinks Uhler is probably not going to play, but why I bring him up is he's a combine freak, early second round, 220-pound safety that can handle the Jonnus. Well, is projected to. I mean, he's a rookie, so who knows what he can do. But I like his chances against Darnell, Jonnu, Freiermuth better than what Seattle had last year. I think Seattle recognized these teams are so smart. I mean, we saw very little 12 last year. Well, we're probably going to see a lot, because we're not accomplished against it yet. You know what I mean? So get used to it,
That's a very good point. I mean, the NFL teams, they've got these numbers and analytics and breakdowns as well, too. And it's all about just finding that one little crease or one little wrinkle where you think you can have a leg up.
Big Godfather thing, and I'll bring this up all the time.
Godfather.
Learn to think as those around you think. So, golden rule of life. But anyway, there's so many things to learn from Godfather.
You sure that wasn't the Rolling Stones?
So I was sitting here thinking when you mentioned that with Seattle, I'm like, well, did they not see a lot of 12 because their division doesn't play a lot of 12? And the answer is yes on San Francisco because they play a lot of 21. But then I'm sitting here thinking the only team that played more 13 than the Steelers was Arizona. Arizona's a huge multiple tight end team too. And the Rams, they're a heavy 11 team, but their first draft pick was a tight end. Like, all this stuff adds up, you know.
Yes.
Again, think as those around you think.
And as you and I know, the league is cyclical.
Yeah. How are they going to attack us?
Offenses spread it out. Defenses go more nickel and dime. Defenses go more nickel and dime. Offenses want to start pounding the football and playing with tight ends in the middle of the field and closer to the line of scrimmage.
Then you pay Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley.
Exactly right.
And then you go to Super Bowls and win a lot of games. You know, right.
And, nobody wanted to pay running backs a few years ago, and now they're making the difference for a lot of these teams.
But no, I would expect heavier. I don't think the Steelers are going to do a lot of 11. I don't think they have a pretty deep secondary. Their corners aren't household names. I don't think that you're going to go deep into. You don't want these guys in dime a ton. I think you're going to see a lot of tight ends on the field. To your original question, and maybe more Washington than we saw. I think no one's told me this, but
his usage was a little lighter than I thought it would be on Sunday.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this till last night. I did a night show with Tom and Tim Benz, and I think it was Benz that mentioned that at one point Washington kind of limped off, and the announcers never mentioned it. So I wonder if there was something during the game bugging him, and I'd have to go back and find the spot, but there was something that he looked tight or whatever. But my point was, I bet if you gave the coaches truth serum on Monday, they would say probably should have used Washington to more snaps, especially on Broderick Jones' side in protection.
Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, right. I doubt they make that mistake twice.
Kind of sticking with that and some tendency stuff there. Week 1 week, one data point, but still, 84.2% of the Steelers' running play were zone runs.
I know.
Highest in the NFL.
Highest in the zone, yeah.
We know that that's the ultimate goal of the Arthur Smith offense is this zone run scheme, outside zone runs in particular. We talked a ton about that when they drafted Caleb Johnson.
Right. Much better fit than Najee for that scheme.
But do you think that maybe
in their preseason runs were like all zone, which they just want to practice it.
They just want to practice
it. I mean, they don't care if they're not looking for the results. They're looking for practice.
Sure.
Right.
Now we're looking for results, though, obviously.
Results.
And the highest zone run percentage in the league, over 84% of the time in week 1. What's that look like in week 2? Is there some, okay, obviously this is what we're trying to build towards, but it's not working the way we need it to right now. Where do we go from here?
So I have really mixed feelings about this. And frankly, it's going to be my first question I ask Merrill Hodge when we do our night show tonight, because he's a running back. And he's smart. So this is a longer conversation. Well,
hey, we got nothing but time.
Hang with me, right?
We got nothing but time, Matthew.
I thought, say what you want about Matt Canada. Wasn't good. We know the results. He got let go. That's uncharacteristic of an in-season move. Nobody was thrilled with that era, coordinating-wise. I think that's fair at this point.
Yes.
However, as that last season went on, their man-blocking stuff got better and better. And if you can remember, and that's a while back, they weaponized some of their athletic linemen, pulling them. Broderick Jones in particular, I thought, was really good at it. Designed movement from your linemen, as opposed to zone blocking where it's like synchronized swimming for hippos. It's like 5 of them all moving as one. You know what I mean? And frankly, that takes more time than man blocking.
Takes a long time.
Yeah. I mean, if Wolf was sitting here, it'd be like,
yeah, I was good. He
say it all the time.
He used to talk about this all the time.
Yeah. I need a lot of reps with the guy to my right and left to know. It's not easy. Synchronized swimming is not easy, let alone if you're a 330-pound hippo, you know?
And Wolf used to have 6 preseason games where they would drill that stuff into those guys.
Right. That's why they did it so much in the preseason. They play 3 quarters
in the preseason of zone run.
So I guess my point with the Canada stuff was, and the numbers bear it out, but I thought this running game was more effective with man than zone pre-Arthur Smith hire.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that's a bad hire. You knew he was going to implement zone stuff. You knew Najee's days here were numbered. There was only 1 year overlap, that they were going to get a zone runner, that all the linemen they draft are going to be really good athletes that can do this stuff on the move. But they were better at the man stuff to begin with. So I had mixed feelings of going so strong zone with the coordinator hire. You knew it was coming, and it has. Now, where I will be critical, and again, I can't wait to talk to Merrill about this, 84% is too much to me. You know, like when you talk about a man-heavy running game or a zone-heavy running game, it's usually like 2-1.
Yes.
You know, it's 60%, it's 65%, maybe
70%
right.
The teams that do it the most successful.
I think at this point, everyone's saying, I'm going to line up as if you're running outside zone. And a lot of that stuff's alignment. You know what I mean? Like, I think McVay is the best head coach in the league. There's a lot of great ones. But remember in the Super Bowl against Belichick, when that was an awesome offense, and I think the Patriots won like 6-3. I mean, it was insanely low.
Yeah.
And Belichick
10-7 or 13-10, whatever it was. It was a
Belichick
very low-scoring Super Bowl.
McVay in that game.
Yes.
The defense outcoached both offenses. It was 6-3. But they did a 6-man front and said, try to get wide on our 6-man front. And at that point, the Rams were like the heaviest zone team in the league. There's a defense for everything, I guess is my point.
Mm-hmm. They also had Jared Goff, too, who at that time wasn't, I think, even as highly regarded as Jared Goff is now.
No, right.
Belichick was like, make that guy beat us.
Beat me, right.
Beat me.
But I'm not going to allow Gurley getting to the outside on zone runs over and over and over and over and over.
13-3 was the final score
Okay,
of
I
that
knew
one,
it was
by
like
the
that.
way. New England won.
In crazy low. But they let up 3 points in that game. It was a great offense.
That game was 3-3 going into the fourth quarter.
Okay. That's how I
3-3
remember
going
it.
into the fourth quarter.
Okay. But anyway, to McVay's credit, now they're one of the most diverse run games in the league. You know, like Kevin Dotson was not a zone guard, but he goes there as a big masher, and they mash.
And now has a massive contract to show for it.
Right. So he's adapted. And again, I think he's like the best offensive mind in the league. Now, I'm not saying Smith's incapable of adapting or I only know how to do one thing, but it's one game. 84% seems a lot, and I think defenses are going to key on that. You know, and especially if you're not good at it yet into the season, back to the Wolf point. You know?
It is one thing, and to use another one of our Steelers Audio Network offensive lineman colleagues as an example here.
Yeah, I'm sure Max would tell the same thing.
Max talks about that all the time, and it's one thing to know as an offense and an offensive line in a run game. They know what's coming, and they can't stop us.
Oh, there's a lot of that, too.
That's the greatest feeling in the world. That's what those guys live for.
Right.
Hey, the zone run's coming right here. Try and stop us. Good luck.
Oh, yeah.
But it's another...
Here comes Jerome, right, yeah, right.
That's great when you are elite at it and when you can excel at it and when you can demoralize a defense with it. But that's just not where they're at right now. No, and it's hard to get to that point. Very hard to get to that point.
I mean, the Shanahan, Terrell Davis led... Here comes outside zone again. We're
a lot of offensive linemen and going to the Hall of Fame on those teams in the trenches.
So this is a side note, but it makes me smile. Denver plays in high altitude. It's hard to play there. So they don't want 350-pound fat guy linemen. They want dudes that can move, that don't get tired in the fourth quarter while the D lineman's huffing and puffing that only plays there once a year. We play 9+ playoff games here. I think that's why Shanahan not devised it. He's not the first one that came up with zone, but we're going to be a zone team in the altitude. We're going to have a lot of, in those days, 290-pound guys that aren't fat, that don't get tired, that can move all day long.
They're just going to out-leverage you and out-move you, and you're going to be gassed by the fourth quarter.
And it's different, but I use this example because it hits home. When we had Larry Fitzgerald, we could put on the scoreboard, here comes a fade to Larry in the red zone. Doesn't mean you're going to do anything about it. And that's when you're humming.
Hey, we're going to Antonio Brown on this red zone play here.
Right.
Try and stop him.
Right. Here's a fade to Larry. Good luck.
That's another one of those numbers that I'm excited to see what that looks like after Sunday's home opener against Seattle.
What's that?
What the zone run percentage.
Yeah, right.
Even if it goes from being over 84% to 70%.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe it is 84%, but they're better at it. It doesn't mean you stop doing it.
That would be the ultimate goal.
That would be great.
That would be the ultimate goal, certainly.
Put it on the scoreboard. Run the zone right.
The home stretch here on a Friday. That means it is all eyes on the Steelers here in the final segment. Of course, the home opener against the Seattle Seahawks. 1 o'clock, Acrisure Stadium on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where The weather seems like it will be beautiful, about 80 degrees at kickoff. All the tickets will be sold. The beers will be cold. Matt, Steelers 3.5-point favorites. Before we give specific score predictions and get out of here, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but I know you're good at this kind of stuff. The Steelers win if, the Seahawks win if.
Wow. A lot of games are a little more obvious to me than this one.
I can go first if you want a second to think about it.
I was going to say run defense and run the ball on Steelers. I mean, like, those two things can't be that bad again. You're not going to win many games. And I hate to say this, but they were kind of fortunate to get out of Jersey with a win.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, like,
Absolutely.
It's not like, oh, that was in the bag from the start.
Kenneth Gainwell doesn't force that fumble, and Skowronek pounces on it on the kickoff. If that kickoff goes in the back of the end zone instead,
or Boz kicks a 59-yarder instead of a 60-yarder, you know, like,
completely different game.
The sky's falling. You know, it wasn't far from the sky falling. I think the big thing is just run defense, and it's even less so a running game. I could see Rodgers, especially with the secondary injuries, without much running game help, winning this game, but not if the Steelers can't stop the run.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a big thing.
For me, it's as simple as Steelers win if they win the trenches. Seahawks win if they win the turnover and sack differential battle.
Okay. I'm on board with that.
If the Seahawks have 4 sacks and the Steelers have 1,
Seahawks might have 4
and
or 5.
And they win the turnover ratio even +1.
Yeah.
+2. I think that's how Seattle wins.
I can see it, and it sticks with me. I mean, they were 7-1 on the road last year. I know a lot of it's Pete Carroll, but no one has come to 1:00 games on the Eastern side of things.
Most of that is Carroll and Russ,
but still.
I
mean, it's that organization wins these games.
They did
all
it last
the time.
year too, and Carroll and Russ weren't there last year.
I think it's a very dangerous game for the Steelers. Very.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like you said, if you get a bounce or two that doesn't go your way, it could.
And it's
you know?
not on the road, but it's another one of those proverbial wounded animals. Like, it doesn't mean as much as it used to in the NFL now with the 17th game and the extra wild card spot, but you still do not want to start 0-2. Like, that is a thing that everybody knows.
Everybody knows, right? I mean, your playoff odds just historically go down drastically, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So with that being said, Steelers, 3.5-point favorites. How's it play out, Matt?
I have the Steelers. I'm picking the same score as last week. 17-16. Close game, which was a close game. I got that part right, but the score I was not even.
I think we all
in
got the close game part right.
Hemisphere
but was not the rock fight we expected.
I just think I'm a believer that the Steeler D is going to be a really good defense this year, and I don't really like where Seattle's offense is. But even though Pittsburgh's offense was much better than their defense last year, I'm not sold that even Rodgers, the passing game, let alone the run game, Broderick Jones, against this defense is going to be, they'll just keep it up. I don't think they're just going to keep it up. I don't see 30 points. I don't see 35 points. Defensive-minded head coaches. So I think it's a close one, but I have the Steelers winning 17-16.
Same score prediction as last week.
I have the same prediction, but I would take the points.
I thought about going my same prediction as last week, which was 16-13. I'm going to bump it up a little bit, though. I got Steelers 20-17. Is
that based off of Rodgers and more faith in their ability to consistently move the football than we've seen in years past?
Yes.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I think that the defense is going to be more of the unit that we expected them to be. And
I'd be concerned if it's not.
I don't think, and I know he did a good, listen, Jets talented front as well too. Aaron Rodgers did a good job of getting rid of the ball, and he still got sacked 4 times.
Right.
But they don't want to expose Aaron like that. They just can't. He's 41 years old. If he gets hit that often,
and that wasn't 4 seconds into the play. Those were quick sacks.
You have highlighted it all off season. Sacks are as much of a quarterback stat as anything.
Yeah.
Aaron even spoke to some of that this week when he was talking about it. He said some of those sacks were on me. I wasn't moving the way that I should have.
Which is a nice way of saying I'm not going to throw linemen under the bus.
It's what you expect.
You never throw linemen under the bus.
Leader to do.
Yeah.
But it's also too like.
But he doesn't get out of the way. Free rushers are going to put him on the ground. It's not like when he was 31.
No, it's not like 10 years ago when he could move and avoid people and evade the pressure like he used to be able to.
I mean, I'm a little less confident in their sack ratio is going to be better because he's not going to shrug anybody off,
No.
and he's not going to elude sacks. I mean, he's going to beat sacks from the neck up, throw the ball away, know where things are coming. But if his protection's not good this year, he's going to get hit a lot because he doesn't get out of the way.
And you have got to minimize that against this talented Seattle front. So I think this is the lower scoring game that we expected. 20-17 Steelers.
Okay. Now, I would think they're going to do more max protect. I would think that there'll be a couple DK shots down the sidelines. They're not going to go another game without a 20-yard pass, But can they protect it up? I mean, that might be more Washington and Warren staying in, taking shots downfield. We'll see. And I expect Rodgers to hit on some of those this year. I think he's still a really good deep passer. Special teams, I always favor the Steelers too. Just throw that out there. And coaching advantage, I think Tomlin. Just the intangible stuff. Tomlin at home, season opener, young coaching staff, all new offensive staff for Seattle. Maybe they are starting out hot, and it's like the Jets and kind of dwindle down the stretch. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really good game. I
do too. I think it's going to be regardless of how it plays out, I think it's going to be another close one, just like we saw this past Sunday. And I'm fired up. I want these games to start rolling in. I want more data points. I want more real tangible stuff to see and to dissect and to build upon and to deduce. And I think listen, it'll still
I really hope we don't come in here Monday going, boy, the D looked just as bad.
Same.
That to me is my fear.
Even if
I can handle a loss.
If we're saying that about the run game, that's one thing. Because I think it is going to be a longer work in progress. But we cannot be saying that about the defense if we want this team to be who we think they're capable of being.
Man, this defense is bottom third. I'm like, oh no. That's a problem.
You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.